Yo, what up? It's your favorite GM of the Hornets, Craig B. All right. Hey, this pod has been a long time coming because I've just been busy with work and a bunch of other personal stuff I got going on. And it's starting to show. The Hornets right now are having pretty tumultuous season. So as I get into the guts of this, just let you know this is the NSFW, not Safe for Work podcast, because I curse like a fucking sailor. Okay, team just hasn't really been what I expected. Essentially, what started as an identity switch just basically hasn't gone as well as I'd anticipated. Essentially, it started with the release of the new badges for 2K23. When I realized that the defensive leader badge was no longer going to be available as far as a key defensive badges go, I decided that I could start to change the team's identity and take them from a versatile switching defensive team to a team that focus more on shooting. And that's kind of why I didn't kind of put as much effort into retaining McGee, and also which led to the eventual trading of Chris Paul CP3, because at the time he was one of only two players, him and LeBron James were the only two players that had a gold defensive leader badge as well as a gold floor general badge. And so I really felt like those set of badges were a key part of the team's success last year, along with some beastful rebounding from McGee. And I worked on a couple different deals, as you guys know. I didn't retain McGee, and in anticipation of not retaining McGee, I picked up Brooke Lopez. And what I thought was that I would still get the same low post defense that McGee brought, but now I have a stretch five where I can run like a playground offense and therefore open up the driving lanes for the guards. And in that, I decided also that I would kind of switch up the guard play a little bit. I moved on from Jordan Clarkson, brought in Brandon Van Fleet, and then I moved Jeremy Grant, who was a guy I had told myself I wouldn't trade. I moved Jeremy Grant because it brought an opportunity to bring in more shooting. I think that trade initially brought in like Gordon Hayward or Bogdanovich or some combination of those two players. So I was also thinking that I would be able to play Luka as a stretch forward. Seeing as how he has an 87 defensive rebound rating and 60 plus offensive rebound rating, I thought that whatever rebound that was missing from McGee, I would be able to make up with sliding Luka to the stretch forward as a permanent position. And then, of course, we had the position lock situation occur, which I was in favor of because it was just too many wacky lineups out there with centers playing point guard and things like that. I knew it was going to kind of mess up my floor a little bit, but I was in support of it because you can't be selfish with this shit. Something that's good for the league, you got to be in support for it. So I went into the season just not really sure how the whole thing was going to work. To me, Luka is a small forward. He's 6'7". He's not as slow as people think. I think he has like an 83 speed or something like that. He's not as slow as people think. And his versatility allows him to do a lot of different things from the small forward position. He's basically a turbocharged version of Jamal Mashburn. And I know it's heresy to try and compare them two together, but if you go back and look at Jamal Mashburn's game, it's very versatile, same size, same weight, just not as lethal a playmaker or scorer as Luka is. That's it's a compliment really to both players, and I can kind of see similarities in their game. And the idea was that I would play CP3 at point, Van Vliet would play two guard, and then small forward. We started off the season with injuries like so many other teams did, and that lineup never really came together. And then on top of that, we're getting killed on the glass. We were just getting hammered. This teams were just abusing us so bad on the defensive glass and the offensive glass that we just weren't getting enough possessions to stay competitive in games. And the idea behind, oh, short guards are not good because they don't shoot well, that's nonsense and bullshit, really. Because what you want when you have a short guard is you just want to create the space for them to get their open looks. And a lot of these short guards, um, if they can get open, they're going to make their shots. And the idea behind having two short guards that are two-way players, like having Van Vliet and CP3, is those guys are going to put a lot of pressure on the opposing team's guards defensively. And so what that does is that creates the opportunity for turnovers, bad shots being taken, just keeping the other team out of their offense. Now it's really kind of, I didn't really care what they did scoring wise. They was like 1 for 15 in a game, and we still got to win. I would, you know, and that's a lot of what we did last season with this team. Is I usually played two short guards like Patrick Beverly and CP3, and they created that ball pressure. The teams don't necessarily trap so much, but if your ball handler has to go through a guard like CP3 and then on a switch has to go through another guard like Pat Beverly, and then when they get into the paint, they got to deal with a 7-foot monster like he. There's too many opportunities for it, or turnover to happen, or bad shots to take it, or something like that. And that's really kind of the formula that we had last season, and we didn't have that formula this year. Plus, on top of that, CP3's defensive leader badge is up, and everybody's defensive ratings by 3. Defensive rebounds. So these are things that couldn't really do, and I thought, okay, well maybe we can make this more of a jump shooting team and allow that to create space for the driving lane. But in order to create space for the driving lane, you got to be able to make those shots. And so now the team is not really making the shots the way that I had anticipated. They're actually taking a lot of bad shots. And some of it is injury related. The other part of it is probably just the wrong settings for the personnel that I have. Right now, I've got shooters at all 5 positions. Everybody that starts can shoot the three-pointer at an 80-plus rated attribute, or they can at least knock down shots on the mid-range at a pretty good clip. Almost everybody has a mid-position except for, I think, Vucevic and Kevin Love. And so going into week 9, I had anticipated being able to use this lineup where it was Fred VanVleet basically providing the ball pressure, Luka providing the scoring, PJ Tucker providing the defense, and then Kevin Love and Vucevic providing size in the post as well as defensive rebounding. Defensively, they're not going to do a whole lot. Vucevic and Kevin Love are not going to do a whole lot defensively, but they are big and they are strong players. And so the idea behind that is just their size and strength alone would be enough to kind of disrupt whatever else is happening within the flow of the opposing team's offense. The problem is, Van Vliet is out this week. So I have to wait another week to see how that works. And up until now, the trade talks have been up and down. Fast and furious in some areas, at a snail's pace in others. Of course, trade talks for Luka are at an all-time high. I've had at least 5 different GMs inquire about Luka's status. Is he available? Would I consider trading him now? Would I consider trading him in the off season? I just had at this stage, I just don't know. It's impossible to say because as most of you know, I deplore tanking. I respect it as a strategy. Tanking works for it works for if your goal is to be able to play with and be involved with young players and watch them develop and things like that. That's part of we all get our different levels of enjoyment out of it. I understand that tanking brings a level of enjoyment to other teams, other GMs, and for me, I just I've been a bad team before and I never really want to be a bad team. And right now, I don't have my own draft pick. I've had two opportunities to acquire my own draft pick. Once when Washington had it, and of course now that Utah or LA has it right now. I think it's the Lakers who have it. And I've had talks with both teams briefly about possibly acquiring that pick. But the problem is that acquiring that pick doesn't bring me any closer to being a better team. Um, Depending on what happens, I'll either make the play-in or I'll miss the playoffs altogether. And that means that pick will be late lottery, which isn't going to bring me an impact player. And I won't even really be able to use it in a trade to bring in a win now player in the offseason because it's just not a high enough lottery pick. And so I will deplete my talent base, trade for it, and then I won't be able to recoup that talent base. I won't be able to do anything better than what I already got if I, traded in the offseason. So getting that pick is just something that, like I said, I considered. I talked to both GMs about it at one point or another, and nothing really came together because I decided that it wasn't gonna help me out, or it doesn't matter. The opportunity to do anything with it is already passed at this point. I'm still in the market for one more defensive player, probably at any position. I've had a few talks with GMs about acquiring one defensive player or another, and it's just not coming together. I and sometimes I feel like I'm being frozen out of trade talks. But it is what it is. You either want what you are being offered, or you don't want what you're being offered. And trade talks can be good or bad, just depending on the situation. And I think right now I had to do a lot of different lineup tests. I haven't really been sim testing like the last couple of years, and that's because I always knew what the team's identity was. So I figured as long as I know what the team's identity is, I don't need to really sim test because they're going to play based off of what I want them to be based off the personnel. But I've never done a jump shooting team before, and with the jump shooting team, you need to create open looks. As many open looks as possible, preferably off of high screens or in the corners. And one of the things I wanted to do was be able to create offense from the corners. The last couple of years, we've been terrible from the corners. I only had one player the last 2 years that's really any good at shooting corner threes, and that was Joe Ingles. And so that was part of my logic for some of the deals that I made to get these guys that either had a tendency for shooting corner threes or had the badges for shooting set threes or corner threes. So basically, I was looking for either the corner three badge or the claymore badge with some of these guys that I had. And that put me in a position where I ended up with not enough slashers, at this and so that became a thing where I gotta get some slashers now, and that is one of the reasons how Buddy Hield came into onto the team, and really the talks that went on for Vooch and CP3, which was a cornerstone of that trade with Slim from Sacramento, is that Buddy wasn't initially part of the deal. But I think that at the time, both of our teams were struggling a little bit, and we just got to the point of like, okay, you know what, we're either going to do this deal or not. And he put in Buddy Hield as a trade piece, and I've always hated Buddy Hield, really, to be honest with you. It's like it's a player that I just can't. It's a player that I've always looked at as being slightly overrated, and this is a case of me looking at a player going, oh, you know, I really don't like that guy, and I hear that a lot with teams, with talking to GMs. Oh, I don't like that player, or I don't rate him, or whatever the case may be. And even a recent conversation with a GM where he mentioned to me that another GM mentioned to me that he only trades for players that he likes to watch play. And so that's when we had to deal with all these different ideas as far as what the GM's looking for. What am I looking for? What are you looking for? And you have to kind of match up these different ideas and wants that GMs have in order to be able to get a deal that everyone is happy with going. And so for me, I don't know if I have any players on my team that are like guys I like to watch. You know, um, mostly these are guys that fit the system that I'm trying to create. Like I say, right now, I'm pretty much working on um, a jump shooting team, and I feel like the sliders they don't really favor the jump shooting team as much. So what I have to do is find a way to create rhythm. And what I mean by that is that the game favors the team that's in rhythm. And if you can create that rhythm, then your team is going to start making shots. And basically, that's just a matter of get layups, get free throw line, get dunks, things like that. Once your team is doing that, then the distance shots, the three pointers, the deep twos, and stuff like that, they start falling as well. And so I have players that are great at hitting those shots, three pointers, deep twos, things of that nature, but we're just not getting enough done in the paint to get that rhythm going. And that's why I had that shift where I was trying to bring in guys that either rebound well or can somehow disrupt what's going on the perimeter. Disrupting what's going on the perimeter defensively and create fast break opportunities and players that can kind of get things done in the paint, whether it be offensive rebounds or just efficiently score in the post. That helps build rhythm so that your team can run this offense. Now, right now, my team takes the worst shots ever. I watch my team play, and they will run a play, and then they will stop that action, and the ball will just stand still. And then they'll give it to another player who's covered, and that cover player will stand still. And then he will either take a bad shot or he will turn the ball over. And or we get the vaunted 3-second violation, which usually happens with post players. But my team is right now taking really, really bad shots. That's because the settings that I've chosen for this group of players isn't allow them to play within the system that works best for them. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And hopefully hopefully going into week 10, barring an excessive amount of injuries, things should start to level out. Right now, then when I look at my record, I think I'm like 19th in the league overall, which is like, it's take lottery. I can trade for my pick right now. And I don't think it'll really change anything other than deplete my team of talent that I can really just carry over into next season. So if I keep my talent, carry it over into next season, and a free agent with the league or something like that, I can give myself a piece that I can use to upgrade the talent, at a later date going into next season. So I'm definitely considering our options. Luka has almost been traded twice this season, once in the offseason. I was given an offer that was pretty good, and I felt like I had an opportunity to not have to repeat a little bit of research, which would have been fine to some degree. The same GM brought the subject up again later with a player that was roughly similar level as Luka, and that was also pretty enticing. So I think that GM almost got Luka in the trade twice within like a 2 month period. During the season, I've had a couple different offers. I recently had an offer it was the framework of an offer that kind of worked for me in the sense where like I said, don't necessarily want to rebuild right this second. I think if I did trade him, it would be for like a retool. So I kind of like the foundation of that deal, but also I wasn't really sure on it. So it just kind of put all this Luke and trade stuff to the off season. And I think I've talked to like 5 different GMs, had conversations with them on it, and it just really kind of depends on how I feel at the end of the season. I'm on like a 3 year clock as far as the competing goes, and then after that 3 years is up, which is the season, I was going to decide on whether to reboot the team as a whole or put myself on another clock and see what happens. So we'll see where that takes me because we won like 60. I think we won 62 games in my first season, and I won 64 games last season, or vice versa, something like that. So now I barely got 6 wins. I think I got. I'm looking. I got 19 wins right now. 19 to 24, coming off of a loss. So I think I got one more game this week. If I win that game, I split the week to two. It's looking right now like I'm going to be relatively healthy going into next week. So that should, even though it's a very difficult week, I think my schedule strength is like at a 59% for next week. But if I can hit that week and go 2-2 again, then I know I'm onto something. And that I should be able to finish the season each week either going 500 or possibly going 3-1 for the rest of the way and allow me to creep up in the standings just a little bit. I'll probably still be in the play-in for the most part, but by the time we get to the trade deadline, I can kind of reassess things again and see if I want to put on the season or if I want to just hang on for dear life until the end and decide going into the season and therefore my most valuable players I think are all their contracts are all up. With the exception of Luka, I think Lee, Vooch, Kevin Love to some degree, and Michael Beasley, who's been a topic of conversation amongst GMs. He's people inquire about him. I'm also had one GM inquire about Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield and Malik Beasley, they're the same player. I mean, they're literally the same player. Look at their attributes. Like if you go to 2KRatings.com and compare that, they're the same player. And they both, these guys, man, these motherfuckers, they ain't met a shot in it. They just they got blinders on. They just shoot no matter what. And I'm trying to make that work with Luka because Luka is taking a both of the shots, but they haven't met a shot they don't like, and they got a little bit of J.R. Smith. And you know what I'm saying? It's like J.R. Smith was a better defender, barely, but these two guys, they are bucket getters. They get if the offense is flowing, they can get buckets. It's just a matter of having the offense operate in a way that makes it efficient, and they can't both be in a lineup at the same time. And then put both of them in a lineup with Luka is basically jump shooting suicide. So Usually, if one is in and the other one's coming off the bench, that works a little bit better. It's just, and it doesn't really matter which one it is. No matter when I start one or start the other, they put up the same numbers. So that's a good thing because I know what I'm going to get out of those guys, no matter where they're going to be at. The main thing is, okay, I know where my additional score is going to come from. I just need to make something a bit more efficient and show up some of these issues we're basically at a deficit. Like we were either dead last or next to last in rebounds per game, and in the same ballpark with second chance points. And if you can't rebound and you can't score on second chance points, you might as well just not even show up to the court. So these are because the rebounds and second chance points is where your and fast breaks. This is where your points in the paint come from. It doesn't actually come from whether your big men are dominant. It comes from these second chance points opportunities, these fast break point opportunities. This is where your points in the paint come from, and usually the team that wins the points in the paint battle wins the game. So, but in order to win that, you have to be at least decent in some of these other areas, and we haven't been decent in those areas. Even though I have players, I have like four players that are rated 80 plus. We haven't been decent areas to be in, consistent overall performance, let alone on wins. So we'll see how things go. And then when I wrap this up, I don't even know how long I've been rambling on, but I figured I had to get something up because I haven't posted any news or anything since the summer. And just for doing some other podcasts and stuff like that. So I gotta get this out there and let you guys know I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. And good luck to everyone. Take it easy.